right. So our very first guest, things are changing a bit. If you can see, I'm sitting on the different side of the studio, and our very first guest is Dr. Wale Akinyemi, and we're going to have this conversation via Zoom. So this is totally virtual. Hi, Wale. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm awesome.
You look
You're
sharp.
looking, you're looking great.
Thank you. Thank you, Wale. So today's conversation is around about, the things, obstacles, the barriers that are on our way towards our dream. And there's so many of these things, and you are very vocal about the things that hold us back. And today, because we're going to continue this conversation away from just today, we talk about fear today and how it holds us back and how it's a barrier and an obstacle towards us attaining our dreams.
Yes, absolutely. I think I will start by sharing a story.
Okay.
Uh, I read a book on Steve Jobs of Apple, and it talked about how in 1974, he had not yet started the company, he met a young man called Ronald Wayne. And Ronald Wayne inspired Steve Jobs because Wayne had started a company, but the company failed. And Jobs didn't know it was possible for someone to start his own company. So he was totally mesmerized by this guy. And eventually they became very good friends. And this guy was persuaded by Jobs to come on board. And, Jobs now had the boldness to start Apple. So Ronald Wayne was the second guy. And then together they brought in the third guy, Steve Wozniak. Now, Ronald Wayne had 10% of the company, 10% of Apple. Now, in 1976, they were going to expand to do a whole lot of stuff. And Steve Jobs said, you know what? We're going to have to borrow money from the bank to do this. Remember, Ronald Wayne had started a company that failed. And so the thought of we are going to borrow money, he couldn't handle that. So he opted out. He sold his 10% stake of Apple for $2,300. Now, at the time when Walter Isaacson was writing the book on Steve Jobs, he said Ronald Wayne was living off Social Security and in a small home somewhere. And as of today, Apple is a $2 trillion company. Now, I said that story not to bash Ronald Wayne, because a lot of people bash Ronald Wayne. I've even bashed him in the past. Then I began to rethink it that, wait a minute, we all speak down about this guy, but the truth is we all have a Ronald Wayne in us. All of us. That part of us that dares not do something again because of our past failures. And I think that's one of the catalysts for fear is the fear of the past. We allow the fear of history to rob us of destiny. And this is so important. We've been there. I know people, you had a bad relationship, so you have a relationship phobia. You had a bad experience in investing, so you have an investment phobia. So many of us are being governed by our history, and we are allowing that history to rob us of destiny. We have great ideas, but we can't do anything. And one of the things I say often is that seeds don't grow on the shelf. Seeds need to be planted. Great ideas will not deliver in your head. They have to be executed. But once we get into that cycle of fear, all right, that fear of failing again, the fear of rejection, that's the beginning of stagnation. So, you want to know what is my definition of fear? Fear is the assassin of destiny, but faith is the assassin of fear. Faith is, I am going to do it in spite of. And we need to be careful. Again, we need to be very careful of nice sounding things that everybody says and we just accept them as cliche. You've known me for a while. I love challenging conventional thought. I'm somebody that believes that if everybody is believing something, there must be something wrong with it, because greatness never is achieved by the mentality of masses. No, somebody has to break out of that. So let me juggle some thinking this morning. We all say it. We all say it sounds nice. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. We all say it. Everybody knows it. But do you know the same people that will tell you that will also tell you that, oh, Thomas Edison did 10,000 experiments before he got it right. So you must be like Thomas Edison. Now, these same people will tell you that, oh, in the book Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell says you need to do 10,000 hours. The same people. The truth is this: greatness comes from staying the course and doing the same thing over and over again. As you do it over and over again, the grip of fear begins to get weaker and weaker. If it is not working at one stage, and you know that this is the right thing, the solution is not to do something else. The solution is you can change how you are doing it. Maybe that's the problem. You can change where you are doing it. Maybe that's the problem. Or you can change with whom you are doing it. Maybe that's the problem. But let's just pick up some pretty thing because somebody abroad has said it, and we just accept it without challenging. That is why, as Africa, we continue to follow instead of leading. We don't challenge thinking that has come before us.
Wow. Wale, I could listen to you all day. I wish I had a notebook. I'd be writing, and I hope all of you are writing down a few things today because you are oozing wisdom. And what you just pointed out there is something beautiful and amazing, that when I continue doing the same thing, then even the little fear that I have or the big fear that I have, then it slowly becomes less and less. And then that makes me or gives me more courage to step out and continue the journey towards my dreams.
Absolutely. Look, I'm a musician. And I was having this conversation with my son this morning, who is also a musician. Now, the way to become an expert, to become respected as a musician, you will continue to do the same thing over and over and over. But the truth is, each time you do it, you get more confident, your dexterity in it increases and all that. So do you know the number of people that have given up, that fear won? Because once you give up, that means fear won. A lot of people who have given up because they have heard insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. And the truth is this: when you look at the greatest breakthroughs on earth today, people doing, you have an Elon Musk. So who decides I want to have my own rockets? Who decides I want to have reusable rockets? That is mad. That is insane. But that is the result of doing things over and over again, because that insanity will ultimately work for you. And that's why you stand out. Who wants to be sane? Who wants to be normal? Normal is never celebrated.
Yes.
Come on.
Absolutely. I have a few questions for you here while it is streaming in as we have this conversation. Morning, Mikali. You two look good. Thank you. Ask Wale, why is it common that in every mentor's room there are a library of books? Is it nature for mentors? And just looking at your background, Wale, there's a library, there's a shelves full of books.
Maybe it's because I'm in my study, and that's where I will not be disturbed by anybody else in the house. But if you want another background, don't worry, I'll show you.
But at least they recognize that you are a mentor to them. So just wondering, because it's a well of knowledge. So books closer to you, then you're doing some good to yourself. Morning, Mikali. It's a great morning today. Happy to see Wale on Full Circle today. I have a question. How do I overcome fear? I've been trying to start a business, but I'm afraid of failing and lacking the profit that I'm looking for. I feel like it's holding me back. And this is exactly what we're talking about, because you have a dream. You want to start a business, but then you're stuck at the idea bit of it because you're already scared of nothing. You don't even know what you're scared of. You don't even know if you're going to get that money, but you haven't tried out yet to see if you will get it or not.
Yeah, people, I think those of us who have visibility, I think we've done a disservice to people by making them think, oh, it was, I just did this and this happened. Listen, I've done a few things in my life that people applauded and all that, but I was scared stiff when I was doing it. So the issue is this. It's not that we're not scared, but it's because of something I know, that everything I have ever wanted is on the other side of fear. So it's not that I am not afraid, but I will do it afraid. I think that's the key. I will do it afraid. Again, that's where reading has come in helpful, because I read a lot. There's a book, so many books that showed me. One of the books that I would like to mention, it's called The Startup Nation. And it's a story of Israel. And he said that, people look at the nation of Israel, the people writing this book, this is the book, The Startup Nation, Dan Sinor and Saul Singer, the authors. Listen to what they said. The foreword was written by Shimon Peres. He said, Israel is surrounded by hostile neighbors. And so they went into their hypothesis was, why did Israel succeed in spite of the hostility around them? But as they dug in to do their research, they found out that their hypothesis was wrong. Israel did not succeed in spite of the hostility. Israel succeeded because of the hostility. In essence, if there was no hostility around, Israel probably wouldn't have succeeded the way they did. Now, what happened? Because they were surrounded by all this hostility, there was fear. Fear that these guys can wipe us out. These guys can cut off our food supplies. So what was their fear is what drove them into innovation. And the first industry set up in Israel, according to this book, the first industry was the military industry. Why? Fear was driving them to be able to defend themselves. They were driven by fear that we have to defend ourselves. Now, the military industry is what now gave birth to so many other industries. Then there was the fear of, we are in this desert. We need to be able to feed ourselves. So what did they do? Their fear that we don't want a situation where we have to import food or whatever, their fear drove them into high levels of agricultural research that gave birth to breakthroughs. So, what am I saying? You can use your fear, turn your fear on its head and use it. That's what, look, let me tell you, some of the things I have attempted in my life, I was driven by fear that the fear of I have been on the ground. I don't fear the ground, but I don't want to go back to the ground. So that is going to motivate me. And I think, maybe what we need to do is you need to sit down and think of the consequences of your fear. If you think of the consequences of your fear, number one is inactivity, stagnation. When you think seriously about that, you don't need anybody to motivate you. You will get up and do something.
True. And fear will always be there. It's how you handle it. If you choose to run away, take flight, if you choose to freeze and be stagnant at that point, if you choose to, fight back and fight for what is yours and what you believe in, then that is all up to you. So, yeah, some good vibes right there to the audience or the people who texted in. We have one more before I let you go, Dr. Wale. Morning, Mikali. The topic is timely to most people. Thanks to you and also the guest, I have learned that fear is the killer of dreams and faith is the killer of fear. That was my take home today. That was, but you didn't use killer, you used assassin. Oh my God. So this has been amazing. Tomorrow we'll have you on the show again. And we're going to be looking at another obstacle, another barrier that holds you back from getting to your dreams. That's true? Do you want to tease us about what that will be? Or we just wait till tomorrow?
What I want we've talked about fear today. So we've basically broken down what I call like an anatomy of fear, but we've not yet dealt with how to deal with fear, and
Yes.
to give you a hilarious story about how I learned how to deal with fear the day a dog chased me. I would tell you that story. So that tomorrow I want to look at how we are going to attack this devil called fear.
Thank you, Wale. I'm already excited for tomorrow. I want to know what you did. God bless you and have a good day.
You too. Thank you very much.
And on that note, we're taking a very short commercial break. We will be right back. This is Full Circle with Mikali.